Welcome to the Tuesday, June 21st, 2022 City Council meeting. Would you please all join me for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Osborne.
Here.
Smock.
Here.
Bergman.
Here.
Nichols. Siebel.
Here.
Excellent. Number 4, approval of the June 21st, 22 city agenda.
So moved. Second. Third. Pretty good.
Number 5, approval of the June 7th, 2022 regular meeting minutes.
So moved. Second.
That's a roll call.
Osborne.
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Nichols.
Yes.
Siebel.
Yes.
Number 6 is mayor to appoint Jeff Bergman as personnel committee. Just as on there, just for if anyone has any questions. Number 7 is
Matt,
request.
I had a question on
Okay.
that. I thought we had personnel committee full. Why are we changing somebody? And I had talked to you about the interest on that myself, so I'm just kind of curious what's the story behind that?
Just, we're without several employees right now. We need to get them hired. I need to be contacted. I've tried emailing, I've tried, phoning people and not get a response, so. This is the mayor's decision and something that I've decided.
So just to add some input to that, the personnel committee was me and Justin, and so you sent an email to me, didn't tell me why I was removed, but removed me and added Jeff. And we've already been in the middle of reviewing a city clerk. And so I'm kind of confused as to why you would pull someone off right in the middle of that when we've already interviewed several and done all of that.
Needed to move forward, Christie. Just needed to move forward.
I don't feel like that's a good reason, because I've put a lot of my time in there, and
I'd be happy to discuss this with you if you'd like to stop by my office. Number 7, request from Animal Control Officer Sheriffs to remove vicious animal from city. I believe we have some people that are a part of this agenda item. Feel free to get up and speak. Does council have any questions for Chris Harris or Wanda Adams?
I read the minutes from Wanda and Chris, and I know it's a sad thing that happened, and I understand that. We gave concession the last time the dog down in Central that had to conform to certain things within an amount of time before we went to this take away or dispose. So I'm not going to support the letter in terms because I feel we should follow continuity of what we've done with this process. And if the council feels different, that's fine. But that would be my thought on it. I mean, I've read the information. I don't think I need more unless I was hoping there'd be input from the people involved. I don't hear anything. So that's my take on it.
Was the incident on Central? No, the previous one, was it a similar case? Was it against a person? I thought that was an animal.
It was against him.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
That's where this was against a person. That's where I see it differently. So I did some digging. The email that was sent out to council, I requested from Wanda. This is tough. I first and foremost an absolute animal lover. Pet ownership also comes with responsibility. And after hearing of the initial incident, I was also aware of it from the fire department anyways. With the bill or with the information put on the city council, I can now speak more freely to it and not govern under guidelines as HIPAA, just to be clear that I made sure that was okay first. But seeing that the damage that it caused, and then also hearing about that the similar animal still has yet to be registered within the city, which is simply a trip right down here, and everyone is supposed to be held to the same guidelines. Constant asking of each interaction. I have walked by that property multiple times myself and been charged by the dogs. Luckily, they never came up to me and my children that close, but obviously it is now a possibility. I'm very much trying to think of this from a city leadership standard, fairness standard, but also as a father, and simply just someone that would never want to see that happen to anybody. But unfortunately, what runs through my head is that's right by a park. There was even an incident that was recorded that this animal did bite a child, it just did not draw blood. So the reporting on it's a little different, thank God it did not draw blood, but it did this time. So now I'm very concerned of what will happen next. I am absolutely, unfortunately, in favor of seeing this animal removed because I can't even get compliance for them to come up and register the animal. To me, that shows their complete and utter disregard to the severity and the seriousness of the situation. And that is my thought.
Is the owner here?
No.
Very well stated, Counselor.
And they were invited and also asked, Wanda, if I'm correctly, you spoke to them directly and kind of advised them they probably should be here, correct?
Yes, I gave him the letter too.
I'm a dog lover too, and, I feel that people should be here, but I'm willing to give her until the next council meeting. If she don't show up, then I will go along with getting rid of the dogs or something like that, but I think I need, like, heck, that somebody come down and tell me I get rid of my dogs.
We actually gave her a notice of the hearing.
I've been bitten before too by dogs, and the blood's running out of my leg, and said their dog didn't do it, and the dog was in the house right behind me.
Wanda, if I recall right on the last situation, they were here and we made some concessions and some talk and some follow-up.
Yes.
So that's kind of what I understand what's went to this point. And I kind of agree with Ron that if we make that next attempt to tell them they come, it would be a definite decision. If they don't show up like tonight, then I couldn't support keeping them. But if they come and have something to say different than what I read in here, that could change the mind too.
So when I went there Saturday and I visited with the owner, that was the quickest I could get with her. She was out of town and until that date. I did give her the citation for dog at large. I gave her the notice to come to this hearing. I read it in detail to her, asked her if she had any questions, explained it, that she needed to be here. She asked me directly, do I need to be there? And I said, it is in your best interest if you have any thoughts of keeping your dog through this situation to be at this meeting at 6 o'clock. She understood she needed to be here.
And has made no further concessions or communications with you or the
No.
city of why she could not be.
No. And at no time from the beginning of when Chris interacted with them, with the dog in the park, which actually that was the other dog, Coco, not Milo. They have not gotten their license from 2021 or 22 now. For either dog.
It's a system they got, did you see if it works or if it,
What was that?
the fencing system that they have, electronic, I assume, does it work or did you say?
When I was there at the end of May, when the two dogs were across the street, running back and forth across Gilbert, almost causing accidents with automobiles, they were saying that there was problems with the fencing. One house controls both fencing for the two houses, the invisible fencing. And there was some problem at that time, but they were supposed to contact somebody that next day to come out and figure out what the problem was.
How long ago was this?
It was May 28th.
28? Yeah, I'd still better give them the next council meeting if he show up, then I'd say. Because the last person, for the last time we had a dog, we went 2 or 3 weeks or a couple of months, I think, before we done anything, then they took care of that, so.
Wanda, my question is, since this emails went on, what have you noticed in the last week or so with this resident of this area, these dogs?
We've been by there several times, the dog has not been out, we did get a call stating that somebody had witnessed the dog outside with two children on a leash, but the leash was actually draped over a motorcycle, which is not part of containing the dog for the quarantine. But that's hearsay, and I asked them, if they've seen that again, to contact Chris or I immediately, and we would come down there and see for ourselves.
I'm in favor with what Ron's saying, to give them one last chance to come down there, or if they don't after the second thing, then I'm for doing, they have to dispose to get rid of the dog, but I think, in my mind, I'm a dog lover, that I think we give the other family on Central a lot of communication with you and Chris, and they seem to be conforming after the verdict of here's the wall, there is no more. So I would like to see if that dialogue could go on with them and say, they need to appear at the council, this is your second and final thing, to come down and give us your spill of what went on, so we can at least hear from them. I mean, I'm not neglecting the injury, I mean, I feel bad about seeing that. But we made this concession for another animal in town that was considered a vicious animal. So I would like us just to do the same standard, and if that's the way it is at the next meeting, then I would favor that they have to move the dog out of town.
But I believe we need to put some sort of restraints on that.
Well, they need to come in definitely in this 2 weeks and get
No, I
licensed.
mean before that, like maybe the dog cannot be outside untethered.
Whatever you think is appropriate for this situation, and monitor it. And if they're adhering to it in 2 weeks, then great. If they're not, then that's gonna be the result at the next meeting.
Counselor Siebel, is that a motion to table?
Yes, I make a motion to table for 2 weeks with Wanda to make a last call to them, or Chris, if it's Chris, and explain this and tell them they have one opportunity to come in, and they need to get their licenses too before the next meeting, not just say they're gonna get them that night. I'd like to know this week that they get them this week. If you're down there in the severity of it, I would think if they wanna keep the dog, they would get down here. Otherwise, I can't support nothing but having them have to leave.
Can you just will you be able to do a letter and just say you have to have the dog on a leash at all times and you have to be outside with the dog?
Dean and Chris can come up with something that we could get to them.
I have a feeling they probably won't show up in 2 weeks, but at least we tried.
Just from the interaction with her, I honestly, my opinion is, it doesn't really matter, take her one way or the other. I mean, if they cared, they would have taken care of it in May when there was a problem.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye. Get the total,
Motion passes. What's that?
I said just get the total.
Yeah, it's 3-2. Yep.
It does pass.
So we will put a letter together, maybe they need to be in compliance for the next 2 weeks. We'll say that the hearing has been rescheduled for the July 5th meeting. And we'll go from there, and that they need to get the dog's license.
As long as they don't do anything,
That's right.
and give them
Yeah,
ample.
you're giving no chance, I agree. Number 8 is approval of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 9 is request from Jeff Scarborough to lower Myers Lake for repairs to retaining wall. I spoke with Mr. Scarborough earlier, before the meeting started. I reached out to Dan Kirby, he's with the fishery department with the DNR, and asked him, because there was concern about the fish that have been placed in Myers Lake. They do that for gaming purposes, and he did not recommend that we would lower the lake at this time. He said it would be best in the latter part of September, early October, when the water temperature has went, right now it's around the 80s, to, the lower 70s. So, I talked to Mr. Scarborough, he said that seemed fair.
Yeah. That's fair. We'll work with whatever we have to work with.
Council have any feedback regarding
Also, the
that?
river is high now, so I would be cautious of opening that gate because the river will back up.
We didn't want to open up right now. We were thinking in August is what we were thinking.
Yeah, and he just said that
Yeah.
you need to get the water down to about 70 degrees,
Yeah.
otherwise it's gonna.
No, I have no problem.
One bad thing, if you get it down in the latter part of the year, and you don't get no rain, it's not blowing in the end of the fish kill.
He said ultimately, well, what is your ideas as far as when it should be done? We were
I'd
initially,
say as soon as ice goes out or something like that, because you're gonna get spring rains and build it back up. Right now, if you lower it now, we may not get any rain for, and then it gets hot and the water evaporates.
we're not doing it right now, I mean,
No, I mean, if
yeah.
it's.
What are we saying? I mean, are we saying November, or how, September, October?
Well, I would say, September,
That's the earliest.
you still gotta have it warm enough to do
Right.
it.
I get a chilly in November, it could be 8 too.
You can make it December, you can cut the ice.
Well, I just wanna have the understanding.
You can't have the water too cold either.
No, and and I understand what they're saying with the water level, but
Yeah,
we lowered it when we put the wall in 25 years ago, way farther than what they need to. Maybe we need to talk to the DNR as far as how far they need to drop that. Because they dropped it way farther than what we needed.
we actually do the lowering of it.
Yep, okay.
Chris does with our.
Well, maybe Chris can come out, we can show him, because we don't need to go out like we did before.
Okay,
Basically, where the wall has fallen, that's about, but they need some room on the other side just to be able to
Sure.
work with it. They don't need to be out there 20 more feet.
Maybe a foot or two.
Yes, exactly, that will probably work. Yes.
So do we want to set a date?
yeah, I'll have council do that.
Consensus is September?
September, middle of September, September 15th.
That's fine.
We can
So you
make-
gotta fix that.
I guess maybe can we say if the temperature happened to change and the water got down before that, maybe we could pick it up?
Yeah,
Just depending on water temperature.
Yes,
Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll look at it then, whatever we have, yeah.
yep, have no problem with that.
You
No.
gotta watch, cause you want enough rain in there, so you don't have
Yep.
it up in the freezer and kill all the fish.
great,
Cause I was in a fish kill down there, when we took about 3 or 4 dump trucks full of fish. It's killed in there.
Well, I'm glad, Mayor, that the DNR, the gentleman you talked to kind of confirmed what we talked about.
yes.
So that makes me feel comfortable on that.
But it's only gotta be lowered a couple of foot, I wouldn't bother you anything as far as.
Yeah, the channel would be completely empty by the time it gets out, a couple foot out into the main lake, but
Are you just going around your property, not the channel? all
yeah,
this
the
stuff?
channel's getting done too.
Oh, you're gonna do the channel too?
The channel and then down the whole front.
Where he, as you saw in the drawing, where he owns land,
Yeah, it's my
it's
ground.
on his property,
Yeah.
just his property alone.
Yeah.
So.
I own the ground, I don't own the water.
So can we have a motion, when the temperature drops to 70 degrees in the lake, that he would be able to move forward with this project?
Well, that's kind of a leading question, maybe up 70 degrees a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I doubt it.
I was just saying, you checked in September
Or
first,
you
we
could say
checked it
September.
and see what the water temp is then. And do we want to say, go ahead and get it done? Or how long would it take you to do it, Mrs. Scarborough?
3 days,
3 days?
I think latter part of August,
yeah,
first part of September, is that good?
that'd work. The contractor that's gonna do all the finished grading and seeding and stuff, he said we didn't want to seed much till the 3rd week in August anyway, so if it's into September, it'll be all right.
What type of base are you gonna put on there, cause it's, evidently the base keeps giving away on them, rock and whatever.
No, actually, the bottom base didn't come out of it. Basically, what really pushed the walls is anytime we tried to get the neighbors to take them oak trees out down that channel, they wouldn't take them oak trees out when the channel got put in there. When them oak trees pushed over, they moved the wall. So over time, they just keep shifting a little bit with the ground moving, and then they start tumble, and when they start tumble, they're just like dominoes, they just keep right on rolling.
I don't know about yours, but the ones behind my house there, they had a little put some little crushed rock in there about that deep.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't go along with it. I mean, I knew what's gonna happen.
Yeah,
No time backs, no nothing
Yeah.
on it.
well, there's a whole lot more changes from when it was first put in 25 years ago to now putting retaining walls in.
Alright,
Nothing.
I'll make a motion for September first to revisit this for water temp, for
Okay,
the year project.
I'll second it.
that'd be fine.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Approval of the resolution calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Osborne,
Yes.
Smart,
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
I don't think my thing's on. Nichols,
Yes.
Sebel.
Yeah.
Number 10 is accept and place on file resignation of Sharon Hillenbaugh from the library board. I'll take a motion for that.
I'll make a motion, being I know that happened, to accept that resignation from Sharon from the library board.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 12 is appointment for the library board. We had several, we kind of had a fruit basket upset in our library board back in 2020. So a lot of the terms are close instead of being staggered. We also went from a 7-member board to a 5-member board. That went to vote and did pass. So tonight for the library board, which is appointed by mayor and approved by council, is Laura Benson to fill a term, June 30th of 24, Dottie Weir, with term ending June of 2025, April Russell, term ending June of 2025, Joel Osborne was one on the board that wanted to be reappointed, the term ending June of 2025.
Mayor did, I think his name is TJ. Like he said, he talked to me last night and said he was showing interest and wanted to stay on that board.
I ran into him the morning of our cleanup days because I stopped to get the guys some Gatorade, and he said absolutely not. So I take that as absolutely not.
And I'd like to table this appointment until the next meeting so we can have some conversation on this.
I'll second it.
When does library board meet again?
They don't need to get into the third Monday of the month. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 11, actually it's number 15. Request to approve animal control 28E agreement with the city of Alfred Heights.
What does that pertain to?
We have, just do their pickups, and sometimes it's wildlife or what have you. I've got some statistics on what we've done in the last couple of years, and it's just a variety. They've had 52, in 2021, and so far in 2022, it's only been 18. So we were based it on, the 20E agreement is, if it's over 25, right? How many calls if it's over so many
If
per
it's
month?
over 50, fiscal year to fiscal year.
Fiscal year to fiscal year. If it's over 50, fiscal year to fiscal year, it's $25 per, isn't it?
Over, yeah.
So that's how we've had it set up in the past.
How are we compensated?
2284 a year.
Yeah.
It's a 2080 agreement we're paid for that service.
How much?
2284, 2284.
Oh,
$2,284.
2384, I thought that was per call.
No, that's a total agreement.
What's the average cost, 20?
Yeah, yep. And if they do go over a certain, we have it set up in the agreement, if they go over 50 in that fiscal year, they get charged $25 per call.
Now, what cost do we have in that? I mean,
Just when our animal control, they get paid $7,500.
we have to feed them or give them shots or?
No, they get paid $7,500 a year, whether they do this or not.
I'll make the motion, we approve it.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request for mayor to approve memorandum of understanding with Intercog regarding grant funding for the River Road boat ramp project and authorize the mayor to sign said agreement. So I had a conversation, I discussed this with all of you guys. Had a conversation with Intercog, also had a conversation with the DNR. They really want to see this project go forward. We got support from, I'd be happy to share any of these with you. We got support from the City of Waterloo Parks Department for this project, Blackhawk County Conservation, the Water Trail Enhancement Grant. We got support. We also got support from Blackhawk County Division of the REAP Committee, which is really good. So what we're looking at, because of the cost of the project, and we were just gonna see if we can get additional funding for it. So the original funding that we received was for the design portion of that project. Now we're going for construction costs. And then there's another grant, it's a federal grant. The DNR was very hopeful because they're pushing these water trail, because it's kayaking and it's inner tubing and it's canoeing. Those are very popular sports right now. And they're really pushing these projects. So we believe, and we're not gonna do anything if we don't, we believe we'll have 100% funding. That's what we're going for,
With no city match.
with no city match. If it would be, it'd be small, like 10 grand maybe. But that's what we're going for. And I just hope as a city that we can support that if we
But
can
if
get the
it's,
funding.
if the funding is all there and it's paid for, then it don't cost the taxpayers nothing.
Right,
I got
that's
no-
correct.
I got no problem with it, but it's gonna cost the taxpayers. I can't see that many people going down there and sticking a tube in the water and going for a ride.
And I
You gotta
encourage
walk
you,
back.
I encourage you to reach out to some cities that have done it, like the city of Cedar Falls. They've got that whole area down there.
Approved for 700,000
For-
for their new
For the recreation.
recreation thing, St. Albans,
For the
it's like, yeah, almost $750,000.
But have done a project already regarding that. And it's more for kayakers, and that is the end thing, that's growing. You could sit on my street, on my front porch on West Gilbert and see how many kayakers are going by with their trucks, obviously, not in the water. It's just a very fast growing support.
My problem is, it's right there on that little curve of the river, and then you put $100,000 in, the next time the water comes up, it washes it all away.
Well,
And, with some of this project, it is, they're building this for it to last, not for it to run away the first time you
yeah, I
have
mean,
any
if
kind
we're gonna get federal funding, I would hope that there's a design standard that they would
There is a
adhere to.
design standard, that is correct, yep.
I was just gonna ask, Ron, do you have questions from somebody that is a kayaker about this? Because kayaking is something we do just about every weekend throughout the summer. This year, we are tied up with other projects, so we're not out there as much. We wanted to go out this weekend, but I can tell you that we got it figured out. We're not walking anywhere. We get in with a kayak in one location, and we have a vehicle waiting for us at a second location, which is typically Gilbertville. Sometimes we'll drop in Janesville and float all the way to Cedar Falls. Sometimes we'll do another stitch and we'll get out just above the dam from Cedar Falls to Waterloo. We frequently take short evening trips. Specifically, it's become a tradition for the 4th of July. There are groups of people that are gathering hundreds or more to do things like Cedar River Cleanup Festival, where we got kayaks out there wall to wall across the whole riverbank. And all we do is clean up litter, clean up trash, clean up debris. We have people waiting with trucks at various stops along the riverbanks as well to collect that trash, the tires and the old refrigerators and mattresses and whatever else we pull out of the river. not only are we contributing to the conservation of the river, but we're also doing something that's just recreational for short trips too. And a lot more people are doing that these days. I know that we're training our daughter, she's 10 years old, how to kayak. She's got her own kayak. We'll get in at Deerwood and we will travel to that very spot that you're speaking of. And the reason why we're not doing it right now is because it's a mess. Getting in and out of the water at that area is kind of dangerous because there's a lot of concrete that's tore up that's just sitting there that people have dumped in there to try and conserve the riverbank over time. There's sharp pieces of rebar
Put a
sticking out
step
in
in
some
there for us
places.
to stop the washing out of the bank. Because since they've changed the bridge down there, the current has completely changed because you got smaller,
I agree, and there's a step that we have to walk on, where we have to actually get out and pull out and walk. There's a few more where there's damaged trees that are laying in the middle of the river, we can get hung up on out of nowhere.
no, I tubed from there down to LaPorte City and
Oh, sure,
I thought it was the most boring trip I ever went on, but.
well,
You didn't do it right.
yeah, you didn't do it right. And on a tube, it's not as
I
fun.
don't drink beer, so
I had
it's
it,
in Pepsi. So evidently I didn't have it.
Yeah, I mean, we even got coolers that float along with our kayaks these days, so,
Full of Pepsi.
well, some people. Not the ones I know. Do you have any other questions?
No, it's,
Okay.
Thank you, Laura. Again, I'm just gonna reiterate, if, we cannot get total funding, we're not gonna move forward with this project.
You need a motion.
no, as long as it don't cost the taxpayers a bunch of money, then.
That's correct.
If it's free crap.
I'll motion to move the mayor continues, or to approve the memorandum of understanding with Intercog regarding the grant funding of the riverboat ramp project.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request to approve the FY 2021 audit from the state auditor's office.
Motion to.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
That was an aye. Got one.
We're sleeping on that one.
Yeah.
Request from Public Works Director to repair the John Deere 544K in the amount of $1973 with Murphy Tractor.
So move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Request from Public Works Director to complete the 500-hour service for the John Deere 544K in the amount of $1,220.
Why don't you just put it all in one bunch?
They separated it out for that purpose, because one is needed, the service that we normally do. I don't know however often is that, Chris?
It's an extensive service. They take oil samples, compression checks, check valves. I mean, it's pretty extensive. Like I think they take the whole top end of the motor off. But I don't know why they split it up. Service and
Murphy Tractor
Yeah,
actually
repair.
split it, so
Let's say it's going to the same place.
it's going the same place.
all
that's
done
right.
at the same
Oh, so
time.
you're doing it at the same
They've
time.
done it for 2 years, or for 2 days, sorry,
Yeah.
2 days.
Is this a yearly thing, Chris?
Yeah, absolutely. This piece of equipment gets used all the time, every single day.
Make a motion to approve that request for the 500-hour service on the JD 544K for 1220 with Murphy Tractor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? This is something that had been brought to my attention. I know there is some other surrounding communities that do that. Is a request to get quotes to have the city sprayed for mosquitoes. I have no idea what that even is gonna entertain. I don't know if that's just the parks. I know we do Deerwood. So maybe some additional parks or, you know, I have no idea of what they do for some of these other cities.
Years ago, they used to do the whole town, with an airplane.
With an airplane?
Otherwise, you don't get, you take a motorized vehicle, you're gonna do them behind people's houses and everything like that, so you kill them in the street. They don't know they're supposed to shop there.
You know, back in the day, and still to this day, we just buy bug spray.
I think it's, if you're, the way that it has to be done now, somebody goes out and sprays down the street or alleys or whatever you get, I doubt it. That's a whole lot of work.
Well, and it's just for one season, from what I understand. I mean, just for one season of the mosquitoes. During the summer, but
You don't have a cost, you don't have a cost?
I have no idea,
No,
this
this-
was just to get quotes.
So the request actually, filed on the Evansdale neighborhood pages on Facebook. And every request was made on there. And so I said, well, you know, I can definitely get it on the agenda to discuss. And so that's kind of where this is generated from. Obviously, I have no quotes yet, I have no idea of how to implement it. There are other cities on that same Facebook posting, Hudson was mentioned. So I don't know if we want to see how Hudson does it, see what kind of budgeting it takes, and then see if it applies to Evansdale.
There's nothing wrong with getting a quote, but we don't have to.
No, it'd just be the quote. I mean, like I said, I have no idea what it even entails.
I found out that that's been sprayed, I couldn't tell the difference. It could have been sprayed in the water.
You got some really good mosquito spray out there.
But they used to spray over the lake all the time, they come in with
Oh.
airplanes and like the whole city to do with airplanes.
Really?
Okay.
That's when they had.
That's up to you guys.
They had DDT and that was outlawed.
That's just it, is I don't know what they do
Yeah,
nowadays.
and then that's, like I say, I have no idea of the details. So we reach out to another community and see how they do it and then move on from there.
Educators are ourselves.
So I'll make the motion to get a quote.
Second?
All in favor? Opposed? This has been an item that has been discussed back and forth, was discussed probably heavier during our budgeting period. But I want council to consider if we're gonna dispose of one of the squad cars, that would just leave us at 4, or if you want to retain that car. It was, you know, we kind of been going back and forth on that, but that's your guys' decision.
I'll speak up, because I'm gonna draw this to the mayor's attention. This is nothing against the police department at all, period. I looked at it from a financial point of view, what we could do to be more cost effective based on the hours and the miles the cars run. I know Mike put on a good presentation last time on his behalf about things, and I respect that, and I appreciate everything he put out there. For cost effectiveness, when we buy a car, you're between 45 and 55,000 by the time Raycom. And on the average between the cars, we got probably 15,000 a year average repairs. So what I looked at, that I said earlier, is I know it's a $65,000 and $70,000 expense. And I know we have to look at safety. And I've paid a lot of attention lately to the travel of the police cars and things to see, you know, are they all out? Are they all there? What's going on daily? What's going on weekly? And I firmly believe that what I see, I don't know the whole story, but Mike, we had a conversation that he didn't want to go with 4 cars, but what I said up front, I'd like to try it for cost effectiveness. And if we find out, and I said this up front too, and told Mike in the beginning, if we find out in mid-year or something that it's just a disaster only having 4 cars, we can always buy a car. And I didn't get to Mike before this meeting, that Mike, I'd also asked if you could get a quote on what a pickup would be for the next round of vehicles, and just see, so you could tell me if it's 6 months, 9 months, 60 days, so I could have an idea, and hopefully the mayor, that we would know a turnaround if we decide that we have to get another vehicle.
So you wanna know what a pickup will cost, outfitted?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do whatever, you can do SUVs too if you want, but I think we get a better resale, return value on the trucks when you get up there in mileage, that's what I've been told by people. So I'd like to see that and base that off of what we have for expenses and stuff, and I reached out to Thompson about his pickup, what that one they have is actually going and costing, he didn't get back to me, that really probably was an important call. But I just wanna know that information, and I feel that we can live with 4 cars. I don't think it would be a hindrance, would it make a tighter ship? Yes, it would most make, but I think it can work with 4 cars. So that's what I presented that I'd like to see done going forward, and like I said up front, not to be repetitive. If we find out down the road that 4 is turned into a disaster, we'll look at buying another car, and he has my support that I would do that, and I told him that at the last meeting. But I'd like to see us try it. If in 6 months' time we find out that if there is issues, then we'll certainly look at making an adjustment. That's kind of my side to it.
Steve, are you looking at getting rid of the current car now and sitting? Because we've already bought and paid for everything down there.
We have 5, and I think Mike had said that the Tahoe would be where, but he would, which one was it, Mike? We said the Tahoe would go, we'd sell the Tahoe,
That would probably be my recommendation.
and do the Tahoe that we'd sell, and then we'd be down to 4 cars, 3 SUVs and a Charger.
Any reason you'd wanna sell it now versus waiting it out since we've already paid for it?
I'd like to have a fresh year start to see on the cars we got, and expenses are a little forward each month, that's why I kinda wanna do that fiscal start thing. So we get a real good synopsis, what our 4 cars costing monthly on expenses, costing on operation versus what I have here also on the research of what it was in previous years with 5. And I truly believe as one councilman that it can work. And I would like to have the council support that. But I wanted it to be on the record that I wanted Mike to get a quote on the pickup or SUV that he deemed necessary. And we'll visit this mid-year, the fiscal year. And if we have to make a change, I have no problem with making a change. But I'd like to try and just see what the costs, repairs and everything are in 6 months with 4 versus 5 versus mileage. That way, I won't know none of that until we get down the road a few months to see what that's really transpired in the 4 cars. I know it would mean a few more miles per car, I understand that, but that's part of the equation that I would look at, or I hope the council would look at as we get down the road to make that decision mid-year. Are we doing a great job, or do we need to get into a 5th vehicle?
Just a quick question, so is this request for a quote for another vehicle, a pickup or an SUV, does that play a role in the decision-making on getting rid of a vehicle at this point, or is this a separate?
That's a separate thing that I'd like to have, and if we're gonna move the Tahoe, move it, and then I'd have the knowledge, and even if you wanted to wait, I mean, if you wanted to give me the information before we make the move, I don't have a problem with that.
Well, I'm done, I'm not gonna argue it anymore, you guys make the decision.
Right.
I didn't see the correlation between deciding whether we're gonna get rid of a vehicle now and getting a quote for a pickup, it just seemed counterproductive, but.
Well, I stated that I just wanna have the year break to know 4 running from July forward.
Right, but it's on the agenda to kind of make a decision now, so.
Right.
We're not gonna buy another car now,
No.
not even the truck.
No, he doesn't, I think what he's trying to say is, in the event something would happen and we would need to purchase another vehicle,
Yep.
like we had an accident with one of them or what have you.
Yep.
We wanna see what the turnaround time would be, excuse me, to buy a truck.
Okay, so it's a
And to get
separate
it completely
issue.
outfitted, and the same with an SUV,
Sure.
to get it completely.
Well, we just bought an SUV
Mhm.
there a year and a half, 2 years ago. And I
But to have a current price would be nice to know on it too.
What was that turnaround time to get it outfitted?
about a year,
So even if you bought it, it's a year to get it outfitted.
because they were having hard times getting parts and whatnot, it took us about a year. And I can't remember off the top of my head where we're at totally outfitted, but, I wanna say the vehicle is about 45, and then outfitting, if you can help me, Mayor. I don't remember exactly what the costs were.
I wouldn't say it was 15,000.
per
It
outfit.
was like 60,000 or
Okay.
better
Yeah.
for a vehicle.
So we're in the $60,000 range, completely outfitted, and it takes about a year, or at that time it did.
At that time, but we don't know now, you might get good news when you research this. And we're not shorting the staff, I don't wanna go into any more than this, what I'm saying, but it wouldn't be shorting the availability of cars there from what I've seen in the last few months.
I also would just want you to keep in mind, we have a school liaison officer that has a car at the school all the time as well, so
Understand?
we'd have 3 vehicles essentially available to us.
I just think it's something like we can try for cost effectiveness, it's nothing against the department at all.
Yeah,
And I
I've
don't
said
want
that
it
many
out there.
times, I get that.
I don't want that.
Is it, rather than, I say park knowing that it still needs basic maintenance and to be ran or anything, but rather than gamble on if we need another one, we have to go buy one at 60,000. I think you're wanting numbers more of running 4 core vehicles to see what the miles, the maintenance adds up on them to take the 5th out of the way. Is
If
there a
I,
way to take the 5th now and park it short of basic maintenance and things to try to get your numbers you're looking for before we take a potential risk of 60,000 in a year lead time?
I guess if we're gonna park the vehicle and it's not gonna operate, and you wanna go with 4 and leave one out, I don't, for a timer, I don't have a problem with doing that either.
I will do whatever you folks want to do.
I mean, my thought all along was to get rid of the car, but that's why I want some more information from Mike. Make a more confirmed decision on how long for a car or a truck or whatever. But that's a good idea, I don't have a problem with that, as long as we park the 5th one, whatever you decide, and it doesn't patrol, it doesn't go, so that as we go forward, and I'm gonna get with you, I'd like to get the miles and everything on the 4 that we would keep rolling. And then I can look at that as the months click along, and if something comes up, as long as we communicate, if you need to use it, yeah, but I think you'll find out that it should sit most of the time. And if the Tahoe's the one, then that's what I'm gonna look at, that you're gonna park.
Okay.
You get the information, then we'll make that decision, once you have some of that to give me, and I can look at that.
Or minimal use as needed type of thing, I'm just trying to find a way to.
Well, the reason I'm saying that is because I'm gonna support probably getting another vehicle next year. So that's why I wanted to kind of work both angles, that's probably gonna go on down the road, but if we need to do it now, we will. That's why I wanted to get rid of one, because we're gonna incorporate a cost on one.
But, and I follow where you're going, Mr. Siebel, but, so I've not bought a new vehicle myself in a long time. But I do know, friends who bought right after the union contract was negotiated in November. They immediately purchased a vehicle, brand new, Ford, and they didn't get their Ford delivered to them until like 3 weeks ago. So the vehicle itself has got a long lead time, but in the outfitting,
You did it.
Wow. See what you got?
yeah, I know, right? All right, well, we'll now use that.
Don't use that word again.
Sorry about that.
I'm sure that wasn't intentional.
What caused that?
said, what the hell?
Confused.
That'll be good for the video.
All right.
Anyway, then we're talking the outfitting on top of that, so we're looking at a year and a half, to get that vehicle back.
You were not allowed to speak again,
I
man.
guess not,
I'm done.
no idea.
Well, we're gonna wait now.
All right, we got, we'll leave it off.
Sorry about that, folks.
We'll leave it off.
Well, my concern is what Justin's saying, I'm willing to look at, if one's parked, I can go along with that, I think the council will.
No, I think, I just wanna be aware that we don't have a quick turnaround time
Exactly.
once we need it.
I'm trying to mitigate the risk.
Yeah.
That, okay, it's an experiment, if that's the way the council wants to go, I'm trying to make sure that we have the tools readily available.
Yep.
If the experiment goes a different direction. And that's what I'm trying to go after. I know the numbers, I believe I have a good understanding of the numbers you're going after, Steve, is We wanna see it to where you're only running 4 vehicles, but I absolutely, my words, not yours.
Mhm.
I don't want to put the police department in a predicament that says, shoot, now we needed that 5th vehicle, good luck 12 months later. Because unfortunately, that stuff is not gonna get better, so I'm trying to compromise, trying to figure out where's a good place to say, hey, we wanna run it with 4 to prove or disprove your theory, but we still have the ability to have that 5th vehicle ready to go.
That's what I wanted him to get, see what the game is now on a vehicle, because then that can kind of change the process versus what I'm willing to accept and let it sit. If he's gonna let the Tahoe sit and run with 4 starting in July, I have no problem with that, but I do wanna have all that research to know going forward so we can make a decision whether we would buy or what, if you come back and you say it's a year or whatever, well, then that might, I just wanna see, get a track record of 4, Mike, is all I'm trying to say.
That's perfectly fine. I wanna make sure that I'm clear on what information you asked about the odometer.
I'd like to have this speedometer reading off all the vehicles now. I know Dan can pull a report you guys for me in the past, but, and I'd like to just get with you monthly and look at the mileage per car, per month, and analyze that against what I have records that Dan gave me prior to this with the 5. And then find out how quick a truck or a SUV could be turned around and bought. If you called and said, we wanna order this vehicle, how much time are we talking? That gave you a question. That sound fair?
I'm just trying to make sure I get you what you need.
Right, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
So I'm assuming we're gonna table this until the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll
We have a
table it
motion.
based on what we talked about tonight,
Okay,
till next meeting.
we have a second, please? All in favor? Opposed? Ordinance 684, amending the provision of chapter 75, section 10 times operation, second reading. However, that being said, the state, our governor actually is taking over the ATVs and the UTVs. If you are registered with the DNR, they're mandating it all. So we're out of that business. I would like to go ahead and read this, because the attorney's still looking, what do we do if you're not registered with the DNR? I mean, are you then in violation? So it's too new of a bill, it takes effect on July 1st. So, maybe still go ahead and go through the second reading of it, and then whatever we find out from the attorney, it may just fit for that reason.
Well, my initial impression of it, read, because again, it was shared Facebook
Yes.
and all around. My initial impression was that was for the state roadways, dirt, gravel, state, governments where there was still a provision in there that stated a city can still govern its own roadways.
That's not what Josh is saying up to
Okay.
date.
Okay.
The city can govern, the ability to have it and then the time to do it.
Nope.
That's what I thought I saw.
No?
So it's not, okay.
That's why I'm saying, or we can just table this all.
Yeah.
I think we should table it.
It's too new, it's, that I said the same thing and he says no, because now it's just gonna be dusted on, so they're gonna be graded. So call your state representative. Unless you just wanna be driving your UTV that you spend all these thousands of dollars for from dusted on. It's the same. So may I get a motion to table?
So moved.
Second.
That'll be a roll call.
Osborne.
Yes.
Smock.
Yes.
Bergman.
Yes.
Nichols. Seal.
Yes.
We have a public hearing scheduled, we have, in order for us to update our code for the building, the International Building Code and the several codes we have relating to that, we do have to have a public hearing. So we're gonna go ahead and open the public hearing. I'll take a motion to open the public hearing.
You gotta close the ones that we close.
What's that?
You gotta close this one, you close that.
No, that's a closed session. This is a public hearing. We're not, we're just opening the public hearing. I just need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, so, after talking to, Justin, he's with our codification company, he gave me several, different cities that had updated their code to the 2015. So the new building inspector, Steve, had recommended that, but there's several items within that code that need to be reviewed first. So I was just wanting to open the public hearing. I'll get a legal opinion on that, but then we don't have to publish again. It's just quite costly to publish. So, we did publish, we have approved publication. We did not receive any comments. Yeah, that's okay. I did already. So I'll just take a motion to close.
Motion closed.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, opposed. Public discussion. Mayor council reports.
I've got, what's happened with the sign. What's the attorney say?
Oh, I didn't get a chance to get that on the agenda, but what you said was incorrect. Those signs in the description pertain just to signage for buildings. Billboards are separate in our code, and yes, we do need to amend it.
Billboards aren't allowed.
They are, because it's okay, well, I'll send you out the attorney's email, so it's his word and his opinion, not mine.
I remember when it was passed.
The attorney had a completely different opinion of our code.
I don't, that's just necessarily agree with their attorney then. What is it?
I'll get that email sent out to you.
And well, Eagles Landing, what's going on there?
With the people that purchased the 2 lots, they have until September. We are maintaining it, or we're gonna be maintaining it, because the people that were doing the serial ride are no longer harvesting that or planting. I don't have anything else right now. I think I know nothing. The electrical is all installed, it's ready, it's site ready. It's ready to go.
The thing is, they can't mow it now, it's underwater.
No.
So what?
No, we can vote.
You can mow all of it?
Have you been out there?
I've been out after the rain, yeah, and all the big lost Eagles one day.
Well, in the rain days, it was had puddles everywhere, but I haven't been out there on a dry day, but
Yeah, we can run our big mower through.
should we? I have a question when you brought that up, man. Unless you're not done, I can wait.
What?
Are you done or? You have any other questions?
No.
Are we gonna, if it demows, are we gonna, maybe that would help, like, clean up, those trees apparently are ours. Back from McDonald's, put the cement down.
Not back from McDonald's. Not on the south side of McDonald's, does not belong to us.
Oh, it don't?
It does not. That belongs to McDonald's.
From the trees to the intersection?
Yeah.
Oh, you know that.
But what about the trees along the interstate? So I'm following along.
Some of them.
Because, driving along the interstate, that Chris Fisher sign is totally covered by the trees.
Yeah, you can't, that was never a good sign to begin with, if you ask me. I still, to this day, have not seen that sign.
I brought it up a couple months ago, I'd like to have us rethink about it, of renting on that billboard on the highway. Because the 4x8 sheets, I mean, they're okay, but on the highway going by 70 mile an hour. And we did discuss that maybe renting for, what was it, 3 months or 1 month or something? Putting our whole logo on the billboard out there, so that people, that's gonna get a lot of, oh, where that?
Well, and possibly cut down some of the trees, so any potential
Right,
suitor could come in and actually see, hey, we got this much area to use.
right. And just think about that, council, if you wanna venture into that, I think it was 1,000, 1,200. For the sign,
But then you also have
I think
expensive
it's more like
pedals, trees.
2,000. You should have it in your email
Yeah.
if it hasn't changed. I did email all those figures too, but I can look.
I think it's something we should really seriously think about, getting into the season, get it out there on the highway. And we might create a lot more interest, and that leads to another question. Do we have a developer or anybody besides Chris, or are we gonna have a conversation with Chris as far as, we're pretty laid back here as far as, he's selling property all over Waterloo. And here we sit with 2 lots, and we're happy, I guess. But we need to
We're not
get,
happy.
right, well, we need
No, we're
to,
not happy at all.
we need to get rolling, I think, with somebody else. or-
No,
I thought we had a mark,
public discussion is public discussion.
Yeah.
No. Sorry.
Get somebody that can come in and help us, like marketing.
We have some marketing stuff put together once we get a city clerk hired, and we can start doing some of this stuff, because we don't have time to do more of this stuff. And we also, I would love to bring Grow Cedar Valley in here to speak to you. I think I talked to you about that, a month ago or so. I think they've already talked to people about our city, and they're being proactive. They're, if anything comes up, they're gonna offer it all, but again, that's not gonna be free. I just thought we'd wait maybe a little bit closer. Our agreement with Chris Fischels will end in December. So, if you guys wanna entertain having Grow Cedar Valley in here and some of the things that they can do for us.
Well, I think anything is tangible to try to create some interest to get something going, because there hasn't, I mean, it's pretty dead.
No, I get it. No, I
I don't know if there's any better place than Fischels. Fischels is where everybody comes to for the industrial and commercial stuff. I don't know of another realtor in town that would draw that type of crowd. But still, there's, I agree with Steve, there's nothing being done back there, but maybe there's no interest, so.
Yeah, and that's kind of where Grow Cedar Valley would come in, so I would maybe, if council would like it, entertain them coming in and,
Doesn't hurt to listen.
yeah,
There were a few systems, I visited the league, there was also some other systems and stuff throughout the state that we could publish into. Either free or very low cost,
yeah,
that was, I'm trying to remember, it's in a packet from the last league's meeting.
Oh, okay.
Sullivan's, they were talking about it, where it was
Okay.
just all the different commercial developments and stuff around the state,
okay,
and you could search by city. But again, it'll take time to market it, to publish it, to put it
Mhm.
together, because you don't wanna just take a picture with your phone and post it, we want it
Right.
to look nice and
Yeah.
advertise it on that system.
That's all I had to say.
consider a motion for
I just have one,
dismissal.
I just have one thing. I had someone approach me and just ask about, patrol coverage out in Case Bureau. So I was just wondering if maybe we could increase that a little bit, just because she said there's a lot of drug activity or whatnot, and people blowing through the stop sign like on 2nd and 6th, I think, or 2nd Avenue.
Yep, those are common complaints we hear a lot.
I figured, I just thought I would at least bring it
Sure.
up. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn, please.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, guys.
Yep, thank you.
And I'm sorry, I broke the PA system.
Yeah, I wouldn't let everyone.
You're vibing high, man.
You'll get a bill on
I can blend it too, so you that way for that happened, blend it.
Yeah, that was.
I'm just trying to learn.
I think initially.
Oh, not at you.
Just 'cause his mic was very loud. And being next to the speaker, I'm guessing it probably just looped the feedback, so as soon as we shut it off, we should have killed it, power back on, but it was something stuck or something, yeah, the squelch the second time is not. That was like-
I better ask.
It was-
Figure it out.